Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for watching this. I thought I would do when certain things come up in my life repeatedly, or I keep seeing something. I know, especially when you get your third eye, just like with all this energy, you're getting downloads. I knew a video was coming, and I didn't know what it was necessarily going to be about. And then I was like, I got it. I got it. I know what this is. I wanted to talk about tough love today. So, in this battle of good and evil, your ego, negative, artificial intelligence, dark forces. Anything negative is of the dark forces. And that's your ego also. You're kind of ping-ponging back and forth, navigating as someone who is when you're as long as we're in the 3D, we're ping-ponging back and forth, playing this whole game of what voice do we listen to, right? Do we listen to the angel or the devil on our shoulders? That's why they have those in the cartoons, right? Because it's really what's going on with us. And eventually we learn to stop listening to the devil altogether, and we just listen to the angel on our shoulders. For some reason, they're just pressing me to clarify something too. This is so funny because I've said that the dark forces are in the 3D, and they can't in 3D and 5D, don't, like, the 3D beings that can't go into the fifth dimension. But I think somebody took that as like when I go into the 5D, when I enlighten again, they're not going to be able to see me or interact with me anymore because they're like still in the 3D. And I'm laughing because it's like I could totally see where you could definitely make that connection. But it's with us, we have consciousness in us. We're already 5D within us. So we're going to have no problem going from 3D to 5D and seeing all the dimensions in between. So we slide kind of in and out of those dimensions. So we'll be able to see each other just fine. But while we're playing this ping pong back and forth match, one of the best things that you can do to really make some headway, and I talk from a standpoint of having been very much in my ego, very, very defensive, very, very reactive, very sensitive to things that people would say to me. So that's my background. And I've been a people pleaser, and I've been like a Gemini type energy where I didn't know what to decide or what to do. I was always confused and like, well, this person says this and this person says that. And I don't want this responsibility of making a choice that I have to deal with the consequences of. And then I've, you know, gone to the level of, okay, now I'm going to make these decisions and I'm going to have opinions, and I know they'll have consequences, but I'm willing to deal with whatever those consequences cause. So it's like you go through these like steps in your evolution as you grow. But there, one very, very important thing to do is to put the kibosh on and tell on your ego and laugh at it. It's one of the best things you can possibly do. When you're caught in a lie, for example, if you catch yourself lying to yourself, it's awesome if you catch that and you know it, instead of defending it, saying, well, this is why I lied, is because of you or because of them or any of that. If you can catch yourself in the lie and just crack up about it and like turn it into like a humorous type situation or kind of lighten up about it, then you're not like over identifying with the ego. You're not clinging on to the devil saying, devil, you and I are like on the same side here. Let's defend this. You take the side of the angel side, and you hold hands with the angel, and you have a good laugh at the ego, the dark forces that are trying to get you to feel the justified in whatever you feel like you've been victimized about, all right? And I know I've been talking about like feeling victimized and stuff like that. And it's just in the energies right now, we're purging this type of stuff, and we're getting real with ourselves and with each other. We're becoming more authentic and more sincere. So when you catch yourself in a lie, because people pleasing is lying, whether you see it that way or not, you may see yourself as, oh, I'm being sensitive to other people's needs, or I'm being sensitive to their situation, or however you want to explain it away. If you're not being completely genuine in where you're coming from, then you're lying. You're putting up a face, you're putting up a front. You're trying to act like you're okay with something happening when you're not. And the inside of you is like really agitated and upset and angry, and you end up taking it out on the wrong person. the person who does have good boundaries, the person who is loving fiercely in a really good way. So catch yourself, and I'm laughing already. I know the ego games. That's why I laugh. But there are times when I have laughed with some of you, and it's not that I'm laughing at you, I'm laughing with you. And it's more like I am able to laugh at myself a lot. And the second I catch myself doing something, I will crack up. I will call myself on it and I'll be like, oh, look at how I tried to do that right there. Ha ha ha, or maybe a friend brings my attention to it or something. And I'm like, oh, such a great point. And I grab it and I take the aha moment, the epiphany. Oh, that's what I've been doing. And it's like when you get to that level to where you become really self-aware of the things that you're doing and you're saying, and you've worked hard to try to be totally honest about everything that you're saying and doing. It's a lot easier to kind of catch yourself, have a good laugh, call yourself on it, and slough it off. So, so the first thing I would think of somebody like if a good-hearted person if I felt they were laughing at me, okay, number one, that's the ego. And the ego is trying to get you defensive and angry about it because it's trying to trick you into thinking even worse thoughts. It's trying to pull you down into like a whole vacuum that's going to take you down. They want to take you down, the dark forces do. So they'll grab onto that laughter and they'll twist it and turn it into anything they can to really make it like dig the knife in even deeper. That's why it's important to like catch it right away and have a laugh. So if somebody laughed at me, I would first and foremost say, how is it funny? I would go back and I would like listen to it again or something. And I would just be like, how is this funny? Like in a way of trying to understand and laugh about it too. And then I might even laugh with them at me and see how that feels, especially if I know if the person is coming from a pure-hearted place. Because I would know they can't be laughing at me. They're not like a mean-hearted person. They're not somebody who's like trying to, put me down or make me feel bad about myself or any of that, right? So even logically, you can kind of go, okay, so this must be a learning moment, right? Why are they laughing? Maybe they've risen to a point where they're like above this ego stuff and they laugh because they've learned to have a sense of humor about the way that the ego plays with us. And that's where I'm coming from at a lot of the times. And if I'm answering like a question for you guys, or if I'm like channeling, or if I'm doing a reading for you or any of that, there are moments when I don't know why I do what I do because I'm channeling. I'm just in the flow of it. And sometimes spirit uses people like me and maybe people like you who are watching sometimes. Spirit will make you say something or do something awkward even that doesn't even feel comfortable for you to do, but you may do it. And it's because you're supposed to trigger that person. They're supposed to get mad at you. They're supposed to feel hurt about it. They're supposed to get all ruffled up about it so they can take a good look at it. So, and also, there shouldn't be anything that you take personal like that, because if somebody is legitimately laughing at you, say they're coming from a mean spirit and they are laughing, making fun of you, then that is not you. That's not you. That's them feeling insecure or feeling hurt or feeling like we have this. We've been programmed in society, and Byron Katie talks about this too, about like we shouldn't have any niceties. We shouldn't have to say hello, thank you, all the niceties that we use because it's making us fake. We shouldn't have like these scripted responses that we have to people that we have to say all that. It's like we've watched the television and the movies so many times that we just say the nice thing in support of whatever they're doing or whatever they're saying. And it's like, I know the perfect thing to say. I understand where you're coming from. I would have done the same thing, and just totally agreeing. When inside you're like, well, maybe you could have thought that through, or maybe this could have happened or that could have happened. And that's much more valuable to somebody if you can say, you know what, I totally get where you're coming from. Like, go ahead and validate them if you want to. if you feel like if that comes through you, then validate them, but also say, can I offer up some advice too? Maybe next time try this, that, or the other thing, or I can see where somebody would have been offended by that or whatnot. But just honest, like just make sure that you say what's really truly on your mind. And we got to get rid of all of the, I was going to say that the thing with the niceties, there are, we don't want to have to go walk around like Stepford Wives is what I'm getting at. We don't want to have to, if somebody doesn't say, excuse you, what do they say? Excuse me, excuse you. If they don't say excuse me or excuse you, some people get offended by that. And they can't believe, I can't believe they didn't excuse themselves. Where did that rule even come from? It's totally insincere to have to say that every time, or to have to take the chair up for a woman every time that they get up or something, or to have to, to have a proper response to everything. It's like very mechanical, and it's that programming. It's the programming. If we don't feel like saying, excuse me, or if we don't feel like apologizing, or if we don't feel like this or that or the other thing, we should all be able to take care of ourselves and our own feelings, and we're responsible for whatever we think and we feel. So people could do offensive things all around us and do a little song and dance that's really offensive all around us, but we don't have to let that get to us, and we don't have to take it personally about what they're doing. We just say, oh, look at them. They are like another aspect of, we're all aspects of God. We're all like God trying out a different personality, and so you could look at it even as that. Oh, look at God acting like this over here. Okay, that's interesting. And see, that one doesn't even do this, and that one doesn't do that. I wonder what it would be like to be like them for a minute. And sometimes you're actually jealous of the way the person is. Like, how could they be so bold? How could they be so bold to say it so blatant? Just put it in their face or whatever. That could be you feeling like you can't be honest enough to say it like you mean it sometimes. So ask yourself, do I allow myself to be totally straightforward about something without having to do all of this, like picking apart of it and examining it? And is this the right response, and figuring it out and coming back to it? And I don't know, and doing all that torturous stuff about it. We should all be aligning more with just that presence within us, that innate wisdom within us, and that peace within us, and just speaking and being authentically from that, no matter how that comes out or what that looks like. And if everyone is doing that, it's not going to get to anybody, because we're all like in our own space, creating our own, we're talking about being sovereign people, right? When you allow other people to make you react and get upset and blame them or whatever it is, we're not sovereign. We're giving our power away to that person, because we're enabling them to affect our field and how we feel about ourselves, right? So self-reflect. I get defensive sometimes. And when I get defensive, though, I immediately see it and I laugh, and I either mention it, or I just laugh at myself, or I do Byron Katie's work on it, or something like that. I do something active about it. I don't just act like, well, yeah, I was right, or something like that. I don't care about being right. And when you get to this level, you don't need to be proven. Nothing needs to be proven right. Nobody needs to be wrong, and nobody needs to be proven right. And it's all, in fact, it becomes fun for you to identify your ego and have a good laugh at it in other people and in yourself. Sometimes you'll see the dark energies playing out in somebody's life or something that they're doing, and you'll call it for what it is. Ha ha, I see that, yeah, you're getting controlling about this, that, or the other thing. But when you can laugh it off, and hopefully both people can laugh it off, then it's just like, oh my gosh, you can have these awesome epiphanies and these realizations about this whole people-pleasing thing, and the lies that it produces, and the spiral that it takes you down once you believe, oh yeah, that person really hurt me and betrayed me. So I may have feelings like that, but I get over it really fast. Anybody who knows me can attest to that. And I keep working on actively doing Byron Katie's exercise, or thank you God for my misery, or something about it. I don't just go, oh, okay, well, I'm glad I got out of that situation, so I'm just going to go back to that, because then you're going to react to the same thing if it happens again. You haven't healed it, you haven't fixed it, in the sense that there might be just a little tweak left in your heart that needs to let this certain thing go. So just keep doing the healing work. Keep doing the healing work, and don't take offense to anybody for doing anything that they're doing, because they're shining something. They're shining a light on something unhealed within you, that you can take the opportunity to really dig in deep and say, what is this? Am I being competitive? Am I trying to be right? Am I trying to make them wrong so that I can feel better about myself? Or do I, just like having a really good examination, a really, really good look at it. Did I actually get upset with them because they're actually doing what I wish that I could be doing? I wish that I had the nerve to go this. That's why that Matt Kahn has that video, Respecting the Shadow. That's so great, because somebody might pop off at somebody and flip them off in traffic, and you're like, what a jerk, I can't believe they did that. But a part of you is just like, I wish I could flip people off sometimes. That's what's really underneath it. When you learn to examine yourself and to be self-aware of that, you see that. You'll see yourself reacting, what a jerk, and then you'll go, oh, ha, 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 ha. And you'll laugh, and you'll be like, I know what that is. I wish that and then you start to get to the stage where all of that kind of goes quickly into, man, good for you getting it off your chest, good for you, like getting pissed off like that. Because we need to do more of that. We need to admit what we're feeling, and we need to not let it have such a hold on us. Holding on to that ego and trying to prove that ego, oh, we sure hold on to it with everything that we can. We make excuses as to why it has to be there. Keep that devil on that shoulder, because it's like, it's important that it's there because that person wronged me, or that person doesn't deserve this, or that person doesn't, whatever you're telling yourself when you're in that ego state of mind. And right now, we're rising above Babylon. We're rising above Babylon, right? We're rising above all of the programming they've been putting us through, all the brainwashing they've been putting us through. And in order to do that, we have to be able to laugh at our ego. We have to be able to have a sense of humor about everything, all of it. Don't take anything seriously. And if you do, that you're getting triggered. That means something needs to heal in you. You don't need to change anybody else around you. You need to heal it within you. And when you do that, then the next time, like I said, the next time that it happens, you won't even react to it or even notice it. You wouldn't even hear the laugh, or you wouldn't even hear the somebody telling you how it is. Whenever somebody tells me the truth, I'm like, thank you. Thank you. That's awesome. That's going to be a great Byron Katie assignment tomorrow. Because I want to be liberated. I want to be free. And I'm still in my ego. I'm still in the 3D. I go to the 5D a lot, but I'm not a permanent resident there. And I know resident is not the right word, but I don't permanently reside in the 5D right now. So being that I'm still in the 3D, I still get affected by things. I'm still a human being like everybody, but I'm going through the evolutionary steps and stages that I need to as a different person, and everybody goes about it at a different pace and in a different way from everybody else. So do your very best to look at triggers as little nuggets of gold. Like, oh my gosh, thank God this came up, because now I can heal it. Because now I can write it down and I can do Byron Katie on it, and I can and take a really good look at it. And then you want to have epiphanies and breakthroughs from it. You want to go, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense. It starts to feel really good to call your ego out. It starts to feel really, really good, Because when you have these epiphanies and realizations, you become free and light and lifted, and become even have, your sense of humor just grows exponentially, and you stop becoming so sensitive to things. And that's where you want to get, because if you're sensitive to things, that means that you're easy to trigger. That means that the dark forces can trick you from so many different levels. It's ridiculous. And if they can't torment you with this thought, then they'll give you another one, then they'll give you another one, then they'll give you another one, because you're so easy to trigger. You've got so many different ways they can come in. So we got to toughen up, in the sense that we have to be, you can always, I was going to say, you don't want to be hurtful when you say it necessarily, but if you feel like, if you're like a channel like I am, and you feel that tough love coming out, you have to follow that prompting, and you got to say it and call it out like it is. Or if you feel like that laugh has to come out, then you just got to laugh. You got to let it out. I've seen Byron Katie do it too sometimes, or Muji sometimes, that like sometimes something is so preposterous that they're saying, it's like, you're telling me that little girl is not taking no for an answer, and that you have to do as that little girl says. It makes you laugh. You're just like, wow, the things believe. The things that people believe, that's really funny. I wonder what that's about. That's like the beings, but yeah, sometimes you're laughing because of the preposterousness of the story that you're hearing, or the dynamics of it. It just, like I said, now I feel like I'm repeating myself, but I'm just saying, try to become unoffendable. That's the objective. If you can become unoffendable, then you've mastered this game, the game of enlightenment, the game of self-awareness. Have a sense of humor about everything. Cut everybody slack. And when you get triggered, don't be lazy. Go down and write it down. Don't just say, oh, it was nothing and now it's over. It was just something, we had to get over that little hump or whatever. Don't dismiss it either. Take it to paper, really get some epiphanies and realizations from it. Then you can even share it with the person. It's all for our self-growth, and it's all for us to, it's I feel like getting a hurry on for us. It's getting a hurry on for us to hurry up and get up to that 5D, to where we don't let things get to us so easily. We get a thicker skin. Because anybody who's giving you any kind of a hard time, like, oh my gosh, did you guys read my thing on Instagram? I'm going to look it up real quick. Okay. Why would you care what anyone else thinks? Have you met those people who judge you? Think about it. The only people you would actually care to hear an opinion from are the kinds of people who would appreciate or even honor your individuality and offer up grace rather than ridicule, because they have a sense of humor and wisdom. Anyone who has a problem with you either wants to take something from you, they don't like themselves, or if you were to follow them around and watch how they live and how they treat people, you would be appalled. But you, however, would probably keep your mouth shut out of respect. So again, why on earth would you care what these other people's opinions are? It's laughable. It's laughable, really. Your opinion of you is the only one that matters. That's it. So cut yourself slack, cut other people slack, and heal. That's the gist of this message. Cut yourself slack, cut everybody else slack, have a sense of humor, see why they laughed. If they're like a good person, see why they may have laughed, see the humor in it. You might have a breakthrough as a result, because you've kicked Satan in the butt. And you're like, oh my God, it is funny, actually. It's really funny. So yeah, you've done nothing wrong. So that's that, giving yourself slack. giving yourself slack. Don't beat yourself up. Don't beat yourself up. It's just a matter of reflecting. Just keep reflecting on these things that happen. Yes. That's where I feel like what would be helpful too, if you are feeling like you've done something wrong, putting your hand on your heart and saying, I love you. I love you even when you're being fake. I love you even when you're getting offended. I love you even when you're acting defensive. I love you even when you're being competitive. I love you even when you feel like you have to, be smarter than someone else, or I have to prove that I'm right and they're wrong, or if I have to, if I don't have any boundaries and I can't say no to anybody, and just like, I love you. I love you. I love you more than anybody could possibly ever love you. Not even your true love counterpart. I love you and I got your back no matter what. And just be there for yourself and show yourself you've done nothing wrong. It's all just a learning and growing process. So cut yourself slack and do the same for these other people that are triggering you or upsetting you or putting things in your face. Tough love can be a very necessary thing, and it can be a part of like having good, strong boundaries. So, yeah, because you're not helping anybody. You're not helping anybody unless you tell them the truth of what you see or what's going on. There was somebody. They're saying I should share this. There was somebody who was kind of, I guess, kind of became a friend of mine, and we would go for walks and hang out together and all this stuff. But I was recognizing that he didn't really seem to care about me or my life or what was going on about me. It was always him and his drama and all the stuff he was going through. And I was trying to be there for him and be there. I appreciated the company and somebody going along on walks with me because I didn't have anybody to go on walks with me. So I was like, I appreciate that you're here. So I will listen the whole time to all of your stuff. So, and we did that for a while. And there were times when I felt given back to, but I never really felt cared about. I never really felt like there was a sincere, like, care for me. And then he started dating somebody and then I was dropped just like that. Like I never existed. Then he comes back on the scene years later and, and then he's doing the same thing in the same way. And all like, it was like a repeat of the whole situation. Only now there aren't any walks and there's nothing for me in it, just complaining and sounding like a broken record. I could tell he hadn't done anything. And the whole time that I had spent all of that time and energy with him before, I was, of course, giving him all kinds of advice on self-reflection and, being present and healing himself and looking at the triggers and all of that stuff. And it didn't look like he had done any of that in all these years. So you probably heard me on an Ask Amy, kind of give him a hard time. I'm like, dude, you haven't changed at all. It's been years. You have not changed at all. And I said, what are you ordering these readings for? This person that you're with is toxic, and this person is the same pattern that you've had before. Nothing's changed. So you may as well just be a robot doing the same thing and not changing anything. You know what I mean? So I had to give it to him like that. I had to say it like that because he needed to hear that. He needed to see that reflection, and he responded well. And he said, you're absolutely right. I need to start doing Byron Katie. I just ordered her book. And I'm gonna really commit to doing this because I know I can't make this relationship work unless I actually do some work on myself too. Ding. Thank you for the confirmation, Spirit. So, sometimes it has to be delivered that way. Sometimes you have to really say it, like get their attention. Because if I was all nice about it and if I was just listening to him and I was like letting him spend all this time making me listen to all these messages and like doing all that again, only no reward this time at all, like nothing, no walks, no nothing. I was like, no, no, I'm not going to go through this again. I'm not putting myself through that anymore. No, there has to be something for me in it. I'm not going to spend a bunch of energy listening to a bunch of complaining and a bunch of, somebody blaming somebody else for their unhappiness and whatnot. So, and if you're watching, I really appreciate your great response. And then, but after that, it was kind of like, I haven't heard anything back about how much he's learning and growing from that. It's just been like, hey, I ordered the book, so now will you listen to me again? Oh, and by the way, how are you? I was like, seriously, you never ask. You never ask how I'm doing. And now you're saying it because you know that the last time, years ago, that was what I got upset about at the last minute. I was like, dude, like, you never ask about me or how I'm doing. So he probably remembered that from way back when. And I was like, oh, that's why she's not talking to me. Because I'm not asking how she's doing. And so he finally asked, but it was like way too late, way, way too late. I don't even think he knows my cat's names. I don't even, So anyway, that, yeah, you got to give people tough love sometimes and say it like it is. You can say it nice. You don't have to like call somebody an asshole or anything. You can just be like, no, I'm not going to be treated that way. This is not a equal balanced thing where we're both getting what we need out of this situation. And everything should be. There should be mutual respect and mutual care. It should be a natural and kind and loving thing. Otherwise, it's like somebody's just using somebody, and that doesn't work. All right, so I'm going to pull some cards for just some messages here. We wish you could see you like we see you. You're breathtaking from here. So there's some encouragement. Some of you are making headway in issues like this. Maybe this video is total confirmation for you that you've been doing the right thing, that you've been doing this yourself in your own life with your friends and your family. And you've been saying like, you know what, Mom, you're lying. When you say that, you're lying. I'm calling you on it. You might have to say that. No, you're not looking out for my best interest. You're looking out for your own pocketbook. You're looking to make yourself comfortable. That's what's happening here right now. Okay. You might have to have some conversations like that. And I'm giving you that permission right now. Okay. If somebody's taking advantage of you or they're using you, stop trying to be so nice. Let them be angry at you. Let them do that. We got to get more honest as a society. We have to get more authentic and sincere right now. That's the key to everything. So heal in whichever way you need to be able to slough stuff off and just give people grace, but also serve it straight up. Say it like you mean it and mean what you say. No more beating around the bush, you guys. You should take more time to quiet your mind and tune into the subtle realm. We have your back, but your mind does not. So in other words, the subtle realm is God's realm, and your mind does not have your back. So the devil doesn't have your back. God's got your back, in other words. So tune in, quiet your mind, meditate, do Byron Katie's work, do something to process it all to where you're not upset anymore. And that's the other thing. If you get in a scuffle with somebody, it's best to process it using Byron Katie's work or thank you, God, for my misery, to where you actually feel good about it. You feel like, okay, all right, wow, that was a great lesson. That was something really valuable for me. That was the perfect gold nugget I needed right now to go even deeper into authenticity. So you can really appreciate it. Then when you talk to the person, you're coming from, you're not coming from that defensive place anymore. And you're like, okay, let's discuss this and let's get real about it. I really want to see myself here. I really want to see, like, what is it that's shaking within me that needs to just finally get pulled out? What little nugget or what is that string attached to my ego that needs to get severed right now so that I can lighten up and level up and go higher? Stop talking about negative things in your life and start only talking about what you're grateful for. Take complaints inside to hash out in the stillness of your heart. That's what I'm talking about, doing Byron Katie or something. Don't even say anything to the person. Take no action. If you think somebody ought to be doing something different than what they're doing, just sit with that and do nothing. Don't try to control it. Don't try to do something. Don't try to share the information. Don't just Shh. You know, let the peace fill you up. Just see what happens when you don't say a thing to try to fix anything, or to try to, just sit with it and be like, okay, all right. I see myself wanting to do something about this, wanting to shed this new information or just give this new light to this situation or whatever. But I am going to just feel that I don't need to do anything. I can let that person just be taken care of on their own. And I can be moved, or I can take that information as valuable. And I don't need to, and that's only if you feel like they need this information, so I'm going to send that to them. Like, we got to quit being outwardly focused on trying to change other people or shed light for them or whatever, and just really kind of take it inside. And then we be the example, and we show with our light the way to be. If you think that person should be more forgiving, you become more forgiving and exude that forgiveness. And they'll go, "Ooh, wow. How are you so forgiving?" And then you can be there for them in that moment. I'm getting ringing in my ears. Yeah. All right. You're being too superficial. Dig deeper to pull it up by the roots. What's really underneath it all? Yeah, it's time to really examine what's getting you triggered or what's getting you upset, and why. Why would you let somebody laughing at you be upsetting? Because it means what? And then you say whatever that is. Okay. And that's upsetting because why? Well, because blah, blah, blah. And that's upsetting why? And then you keep sloughing off the layers and sloughing off those layers. And then you get to the heart of it, what you really mean. Because otherwise we're like loose cannons, and we're firing at people that don't deserve to be treated like that. We're like getting pissed off and blaming them for all these other issues that we're not dealing with. We're projecting onto you're upset over here over this thing, and you go to attack that person, or you don't, or say you don't say something to that person. You go over here and then you beat that person up in a different way. And it's like kind of perpetuated. The negativity has to go somewhere, and it keeps going, blah, 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 unless you dissolve it within you by doing the healing around it. Okay. A setback is just a chance to regroup and get creative. You might even come up with a better plan as a result. Embrace the opportunity and try to see this through new eyes. Yeah. So, and it's not really even a setback. It's just like a lesson. It's time to just self-reflect. It's time to go within and find out some answers to some of these things, so they don't keep coming up. Don't take it personally. This person is only projecting, right? Imagine them in the mirror saying it to themselves, and you'll see. So if you think that they're saying something to you that's offensive, imagine them in front of the mirror saying it to themselves, and you'll be like, oh, and then you'll have compassion for them, right? You're like, that's where they're coming from. That makes so much more sense. It is what you think and say it is. So be aware of what you're affirming, because you're creating a self-fulfilling prophecy. Use an affirmation instead to replace that energy with. So crazy things happen when you go on assumptions, and you take offense, and you start talking about it to your friends, and you start making the person look bad, or you start like, oh, I just knew, and you just take it on the whole big long thing. It's like, nip the story in the bud and get to the bottom of it immediately, like right away, right when it happens. Don't keep it going, and don't keep mulling it over. It doesn't sit right with me, and do all that kind of stuff. Resolve it. Seek to resolve it within yourself. You got nothing to resolve with anybody else out there. They're just reflections. Okay, so affirm through visualization, belief, and saying it out loud that you have all that you need, and it will appear in your reality. Doubt is the only thing that can slow its arrival. So in this case, I guess you could visualize everything going really well with everybody, even before you talk to them. Or if you go to confront them, you could just imagine it going really well and really believe it will, and it'll kind of set the tone. What would you advise your best friend to do in your shoes? Do that. That is always a really good exercise, because we always tell our best friend like the best thing, oh, you should give that person the benefit of the doubt, though. You should probably ask them for clarity. Why did you laugh? Or say that kind of hurt my feelings. I know I shouldn't get hurt feelings because that's ridiculous, because I know you're always coming from a good place, but like what was happening there? Like, why did you laugh? And then the person has the chance to say, oh my gosh, I just thought it was so funny that you might think that this little girl can control you or something, because you're such a powerful person. And it's like seeing a big elephant afraid of a little mouse or something, whatever. And then you might have a good laugh. But just because you went to that little extra mile and clarified and let the person know how you were feeling or what you were thinking, not in a defensive way, but just an inquisitive, curious way. And then it keeps, I don't know, you'd just be surprised if you can keep an open mind and keep, giving people the benefit of the doubt and just clarifying, just asking some questions to clarify. Especially when you're dealing with a good-hearted person. If you're dealing with somebody who's just kind of a punk and they're just like a narcissist or something, and they're just, that they're jerks all the time, and you're just like, yeah, whatever, I'm not going to take that seriously. That's obviously a different thing. But if you know what I'm saying. So, all right, you guys have a beautiful day. Hope this helped you in some way, in like maybe not all of it pertained to you, maybe just bits and pieces of it, or maybe it hit right on with something that you're going through. And I'm here to help support you if you want to do like a remote reading, and talk over some of the issues you're having in your life right now too. I'd be happy to be a good sounding board for you and be that reflection of that friend that you're talking to, who's just like, maybe you should ask them what they meant, or maybe you should try this, or give them the benefit of the doubt, or let's do some Byron Katie on that and see what we can discover, what kind of epiphanies that we can discover, or maybe you should laugh at yourself, or that kind of thing. So, all right, have a great weekend, and I will talk to y'all later. Bye.